2021 was the year of the remaster, the remake. We saw the remastered versions of Yakuza 3 to 6 being released on PC, the original Mass Effect trilogy being touched up and repackaged into the Legendary Edition, the great Ace Attorney series being ported from 3DS to PC, and of course Pokemon had its next remakes, this time Generation 4 getting the spotlight. Even Quake was given a HD remaster 25 years after its original release. But what games of the year stood out the most to me? Enough hanging about, here's my top 10 games of 2021. When I asked friends what Valheim was, the most common response I got was Minecraft with Vikings. I guess that's kind of right, but it's a bit of an injustice as the game is so much more. You chop down trees, build houses, hunt animals for food. Alright, it sounds very similar to Minecraft, sure. Some of the structures people have made though in this game are nothing short of spectacular, and that's just the beginning. Each biome has a giant boss to be fought. Defeating them and claiming a trophy and bringing it back to the starting area unlocks some more skills and allows further progression into the game, opening up new areas and shifting the world around you. It varies from exploring old crypts and sailing the seas, climbing mountains and more. How you play and what direction you take is entirely up to you, meaning this game is one of the bigger time sinks of the year. Maybe a bit cheeky to throw this in there as it's not an entire game, but I felt I couldn't not talk about Chapter 2 of Deltarune being released. Continuing on from Chapter 1 that came out a few years ago, the game adds more depth to the Dark World and raises more questions about the characters involved in the game and the real direction the plot is going. As always, the characters are greatly written, with the Queen being the obvious highlight of the game with her unique sense of humour, and of course the music is as brilliant as you would expect from a Toby Fox game. Despite the first game specifying that this isn't your story, there's in fact different pathways to take through the game, one of which is pretty dark. I'd recommend looking up the quote-unquote genocide run of Chapter 2 if you've not seen that so far. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what Chapter 3 brings, whenever that arrives of course. The original Life is Strange is one of my favourite games of all time, with the story being engrossing and involving all the way through, with your choices being important to the fates of yourself and the other characters throughout the game. No one person's story is exactly the same as another. While I was somewhat disappointed with Life is Strange 2, True Colours is a bounce back into the right direction in my opinion. You play as Alex Chen, fresh out of care, who is an empath. So she's able to feel the emotions of others around her physically, and if they're strong enough, see their thoughts alongside it. She can basically read their minds if their emotions are strong enough. This helps her as she attempts to settle into a new town with her brother. But as always in true Life is Strange fashion, events unfold that cause catastrophe, and it's up to you to get to the bottom of it. There's a lot to explore here, plenty of side stories and quests and little things to investigate, and your interactions and choices with the main characters of the game impacts on how the game reaches its climactic finale. Not much was known about this game other than the fact that it just had 3 voice actors, Professor X, Rey Skywalker and the Green Goblin. You're playing as a regular guy who comes home from work, has a chat with his wife, and then, well, let's just say events happen. Can't really say much more without spoiling the plot of the game, but essentially you're stuck in a time loop. Every 10 minutes, or if you die, you are sent back to the start of the loop and have to relive the events again from the moment you enter your apartment. Each time, however, you pick up more information about the characters, more clues on how to progress, and hopefully a way to end the time loop and reach the end. Well, technically there's multiple endings and a whole bunch of secrets to uncover, and I was entertained from start to finish. I really did not see what was going to happen from the next moment to the next moment. I've been a fan of the Tales series since Symphonia nearly 20 years ago, and the hype for this game was pretty immense, and it didn't disappoint. Visually, it's the best looking game in the franchise, and the combat is some of the most fluid and seamless compared to the differing styles from some of the most recent games. You play as a slave who has lost his memories and any knowledge of his identity, in a world that has been invaded and taken over by a neighbouring planet who use the local population as slaves to farm the natural resources. As you progress through the game, you begin liberating regions, but in true JRPG fashion, the plot thickens and all is not it seems. If you like convoluted stories and whacking things with swords, then this is the game for you. I was hesitant to play this game at first. After having played Hazelight's first game, A Way Out, I thought I knew what to expect and wasn't really blown away by their first attempt. Well, I was very, very wrong. It Takes Two is absolutely fantastic. It's purely a co-op game. There's no single player option. You can buy one copy of the game and play with a friend. The other person doesn't need it, but you do need two people to actually play. You play as the soon-to-be divorcing parents of a child who, while upset, wishes for things to be better and in turn transforms her parents into small toy versions of themselves. Classic. Working together, you have to solve puzzles through a bunch of regions of the household, from the tool shed, the garden, your kid's bedroom with all the toys. The challenges are great. There's mini games as well to test yourself against each other, get a bit of competition going, and honestly, I love the humour the game played all throughout the story. The way the environments came alive as you progress, the music, if you've got a good friend to play co-op games with, this is a must-have for your collection. If you like 9-foot-tall vampire women chasing you and tying you up, this is the game for you. Alright, okay, aside from the Lady Dimitrescu memes that have been happening before and after the release of Village, it's actually an amazing entry to the series. Following almost directly on from 7, it has similar gunplay and gameplay with the usual find resources, upgrade weapons, progression, as you would expect from the other games. As always with Resident Evil, the opening area is the strongest. You're sneaking past our favourite vampiric giant as you solve puzzles in the castle, but each of the following areas all have their strengths as you hunt down the other occupants of the village. One area in particular creeps me the hell out, while some of the boss battles are crazy climactic and really push the action side of things. The story can be a little bit flimsy. Essentially you're trying to rescue your doctor, but it gets a little bit more convoluted than that. Can't really say much more without spoiling. If you like the style of Resident Evil 7, then you're really gonna love Village. I have a massive soft spot for games that put you in an unknown place and just let you explore. The first Subnautica, Outer Wilds, these are all games that allow you to look around places inhabited by others a long time ago and piece together the story yourself, and Below Zero fits straight into that category. Set on the same planet as the original game, just in a different section of it, you intentionally land on an alien planet in order to find out the truth of what happened to your recently deceased sister. You can craft, build and upgrade a variety of equipment to aid your search, build a base to, center your resources around, and with multiple main threads of story to follow, there's so much to find out about the humans who were stationed there during research, but also the aliens who originally resided on the planet. There are new items and animals to add to those from the previous game, so if you're thinking it's more of the same, it is, but there's extra content. But it retains that sense of wonder as well as you delve deeper and deeper into the ocean, and my only disappointment was there wasn't more of it. While most of the world was waiting for Metroid Prime 4, Nintendo pulled a sneaky and hit us with Dread instead. This is one of the best Metroid titles to date, and when compared to the other 2D titles, is up there with the likes of Super Metroid and Fusion. Once again, Samus is dealing with threats from the X-Parasite, and has to recollect all of her old armor, abilities and weaponry, allowing her access to more and more of the map in true Metroidvania fashion. The gameplay is smooth, with the ability to parry enemies staying from the Samus Returns remake that came out before, but the core features of the game is hiding, running and eventually defeating the Emmy. These are guard robots that are pretty much indestructible until later in the game. These stealth sections put you in such an anxious state as you traverse between the areas, not giving you a second to catch your breath before the next challenge. The boss battles are top class too, with some of the cutscenes making Samus look more badass than ever before. Best game on the Switch this year and one of the best Metroidvanias in recent memory. If you like games that can simultaneously intrigue you, make you depressed, and give you an existential crisis, then I really recommend the NieR series. I did say that 2021 was the year of the remake, and it's a remake of the original NieR game that gets my number 1 for the year. Adding some new content, a new ending, and updating the combat style to match Automata's, NieR Replicant was my favourite game of the year, not just because of the lovely visuals, or the fluid combat, or the smooth RPG features, but because of the story. You know I'm a sucker for a good story. You live in a distant future where humanity is plagued by small ghost-like creatures that reside in the dark, while people often fall ill to an incurable disease randomly. One of those being the protagonist's sister, which sparks the quest to find a cure. It's hard to say more than that without spoiling key plot details, but rest assured there are some epic boss battles combining classic DMC style combat with bullet hell sections, heart-wrenching storylines that only really truly become revealed after seeing a couple of the 5 endings on offer, and the musical score is probably the best of the year, so similar to Automata, it's perfect. I spent nearly 70 hours doing absolutely everything there was to do in the game, and honestly, in the end, I just wanted to find out more. Easily my favourite game of the year. So there we have it, my top 10 games of 2021. Anything you think I missed out? Disagree with any of my inclusions? What were your favourite games of the year? Let me know in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it. Take care, and I'll see you next time.